You're watching the VetTunes podcast, the show that shines a spotlight on military and veteran artists. Stand by for transmission. All right, transmission indeed. We are transmitting to you from Harmony Hill Studios in Shelbyville, Tennessee. And our guest today on the VetTunes podcast is Major Lee Stuckey, United States Marine Corps retired. And we're going to learn all the things he's got going on with his organization called AHERO. So with that, Lee, welcome to the VetTunes podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. What an awesome place. And coming here 3-4 years ago when you started building the facility.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing it in phases, and I was just telling John, I'm pretty sure y'all work 28 hours a day to see the progression of this place. It's an absolute beautiful studio.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we put in some work, and we enjoy having people over, and, you know, the majority of people that come through our doors are all veterans, and, you know, we like it. You
It's
know,
awesome. Well, thank you for having me and knowing you as long as I've known you, and just to see our relationship grow, and really the work you put behind AHERO Records and working with us and watching this, we can't thank you enough. Building the foundation of AHERO Records, helping us really showing us what right looks like, and introducing us to the people, and then watching you connect with Jeff Sylvie and Rusty Tabor, and now Casey Fall, and watching all of the extremely talented people come together to help veterans and first responders heal has been so inspirational to watch. So thank you so much for really being the leader and the foundation in building what we have now as AHERO Records.
well, thank you. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. You know, I have learned over time about the healing powers of music, and it's in retirement, it's fun to kind of, you know, apply those to do some good with it. Yeah.
Thinking about music, every part of my life, good, bad, relationships, junior high, high school, you can think through impactful moments in your life, and there's a song that's connected to that.
Yeah.
And I can think about all those songs throughout my life that got me through some pretty dark days, that made me have some really happy times. And to watch the therapy that you and the other artists provide these veterans and first responders through their trauma is absolutely magical.
Yeah. No, it's a blessing to be able to make some light out of the dark.
Well, you know, as you know, AHERO, America's Heroes, enjoying recreational outdoors, it started as whitetail deer hunting, and then we started doing some fishing, and then we started realizing that everybody doesn't hunt, everybody doesn't fish. So what are some other opportunities we can have to bring them together? And even while we were doing those events, we were introduced to Operation Song through Rusty Tabor. And so when Rusty came on board and helped us, he told us about Bob Regan and all the great stuff that they were doing. We started the Music for AHERO program and started working that into our program. And I saw these, you know, war-hardened veterans, Marines, whatever service they were in, it didn't matter, that were vaults, that were not inclined to share what they went through. And then you put a musician in front of them like Rusty or yourself or Jeff Sylvie, and they open up.
Yeah.
And they're not telling what they went through, they're telling a story. And as you watch the story unfold and you watch the details of it, you can watch them painting a picture. And as they're painting this picture with the musicians, they connect, and the artist gets to understand what they went through. And at the end of it, they're healing through what was their trauma is now their story of resilience.
Yeah.
And it's just absolutely amazing to watch that. And a person who came to our event that was not going to talk about what they went through now has this packaged healing product that they can listen to remind themselves that they're going to struggle well, and they're going to get through that story together. And now that musician has a really strong appreciation for what these veterans and first responders go through on a daily basis.
Yeah. Well, we had David Corlew on the show, and he's a longtime manager of Charlie Daniels Band, and he also co-founded the Journey Home Project with Charlie Daniels. And one of the things he said is, when you talk about it, every time you talk about it, it loses its power. It loses its grip. So it's important to kind of get that stuff out there. And it's great that music can be the catalyst to kind of get that stuff out there.
Absolutely. And you have your trauma, whatever you've been through, and you don't have to be a veteran. Everybody has their thing and their stuff that they went through in their life. And you're going to package it up in this tote, this figurative tote in the back closet. It will rear its ugly head when you don't want it to.
Yeah.
And instead, move that trauma by your coffee pot and remind yourself of what you went through, how you got through it, and how you're a resilient person. And really, the community got you through it too. And remind yourself every single day, it was something that was significant, but it created who you are today. So be proud of it. Be proud of what you went through and be proud of where you are today.
And what you've overcome.
Absolutely. What you've overcome. Don't let it hold you back. Don't let it be an anchor. Let it be a reminder for you of who you are and what defines you today.
Yeah. So speaking of what defines you today, I think in order to talk about what defines you, Lee Stuckey, today, tell us a little bit about your journey. You're United States Marine Corps retired, combat veteran. You served both on the enlisted side and the officer side. For those who may not be familiar with you, tell us a little bit about your story.
So first off, I'll back up to high school, junior high, mischievous, not malicious. Definitely got in a lot of trouble. Class clown, always trying to make people laugh. Ended up having the opportunity to go to military school. So it was either juvie or military school. I chose military school. And that was a blessing. I met a Marine, Gunnery Sergeant Sutton. He was Staff Sergeant Sutton. I met him, ended up being Gunnery Sergeant Sutton. And I remember looking at him saying, man, if I can live my life just 10% like he does, I'll be successful. I'll be okay. Fast forward to college. I go to Auburn my freshman year. If you could give out a negative GPA, I would have made a negative GPA. I did not do well. I was great at partying, terrible at school. And I remembered Staff Sergeant Sutton, and I went to Parris Island. And oddly enough, if you go in the Marine Corps and you go through Parris Island, you come back and you're a little more studious. So I was a much better student when I got back, but was enlisted, was with 3rd Battalion, 23rd Marines as a machine gunner. So I was in the reserve program. And I knew I wanted to become an officer. And so stayed at Auburn, finished school, did the reserve thing while I was there. I did deploy in 2003 with 3rd Battalion, 23rd Marines. And then after that, finished my school, got a commission, and actually became a logistics officer. So served there, did 2 deployments as an officer. My second deployment was when I got blown up. So I was struck by an improvised explosive device in November of 2007. Didn't really know how significant all of it was. I knew I got my bell rung and knocked out, but I didn't know how bad it was going to affect me in the long run. And I ended up not sleeping for about 2 years. So fast forward to 2009, I do another deployment in Mosul, Iraq with 3-1 Cav, which was an Army unit. And while I'm with them, I was back and forth training for fights. So I was in sprint mode. And really, I was just
training for fights, the MMA.
Martial arts.
Yep,
so
yep.
I fought professionally as well. And so I was fighting professional mixed martial arts, and I would deploy, fight, deploy. And in the time I was training for this fight, I was deployed in Mosul, Iraq. Lots of chaos in Mosul, not a great place. I landed back in America and I had a fight within a couple of weeks, which was a godsend because when I came back from Iraq, I wasn't able to drink. I was training for this fight. I fought, I won, which was great. And then I was able to drink and I was back home and I haven't slept for probably about 2 years. On and off between 2007, 2009, my sleep was pretty bad. If I would sleep, it was alcohol induced, or I would just stay up and stare at the ceiling. I took EMBN and everything else you can imagine to try to sleep, and it wasn't working. And in 2009, I was at my house. I just checked in for recruiting duty in 2009. I'd been there about a month, and I was drinking, and I was at my farm, and I got tired of being tired. And so as I'm sitting there, I had my Glock 9mm pistol, and I went to take my life. And as I went to take my life on that Thursday night in August, my mother called my cell phone. And so she called me at the exact second I was pulling the trigger on a Glock with no safety. And really, that was extremely scary. I had never gotten that far. I thought about, I wish today was over. I had thought about, why am I having these headaches? I want it to end. Why can't I sleep? And I was definitely detached, but outwardly, you would never know it. So I tried to be the first person to work, the last person to leave, always taking care of myself, doing well, physical fitness, all those things that outwardly looked like I had it together, but inward, I was absolute just chaos. And I didn't want anyone to know because I didn't want to bother anyone.
Right.
So I never wanted to take any time from anyone. I always wanted to give and like make other people feel good. That's really my mechanism for healing, is making people laugh. And it was just a ruse. The whole thing, my sense of humor, me distracting people from my own internal chaos. And
Right.
that's what I used the whole time. And it finally caught up to me. So I was drinking that night and I went to take my life and I didn't. And I battled it for months. My mom came out there. She obviously freaked out when she heard me crying. She came out there and picked me up. Fortunately, I was on recruiting duty and I lived about 30 minutes. She lived 30 minutes away from me, and took my guns. And I started seeing people about it. And I wondered why I was a sissy. Why am I weak? Why are other Marines and sailors not going through these problems I'm going through? And why am I making these decisions? Why me? And then I finally realized that there were other people that were probably going through it too. They just didn't want to tell anybody. And I just didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want to bother people. I wanted to get promoted. I didn't want the Marine Corps to look at me like I was a weak officer, because I really wanted to get promoted to captain. And I thought that would hinder it. And everybody around me would have gladly helped me, but I didn't want to bother anybody. And
Right.
I was looking at this one thing and this dot on this big whiteboard, if you had one, and I was staring at this one problem. And as I'm staring at it, I didn't realize all the blessings and all the people that were surrounding me that would have gladly helped me, because I was fixated on my one problem and my one issue. And so looking back, I just wish I would have reached out instead of getting to that point. So going through that process and trying to heal myself, I realized I wasn't weak. I realized I wasn't a sissy. I was a normal person who had gone through abnormal events in my life. And if I didn't react the way I did, I was probably a sociopath.
Mm.
So if you go through trauma like you go through in combat, or a lot of people go through in life, and you don't have an issue, you might be a sociopath to some degree. So the fact that I was having breakdowns and not sleeping and having nightmares and night terrors and everything else, my body just didn't know what to do with everything I'd gone through for 2.5 years of war. So 3 deployments added up to about 2.5 years. And that's a lot for anybody to go through.
Sure.
So, and at that point, that was probably the normal rotation for people, is that many deployments back to back, at least being in the Marine Corps. So after that, just looking at what helped me get through the things I'm going through, and it was being on the farm and being outdoors and what I consider God's creation. And so being outdoors in a tree stand in the woods, disconnected from the phone, just me and God out in the woods. And that's when I opened up the farm and started inviting other veterans to come out to the farm and enjoy my farm. My neighbors came together. A guy named Jody Thrasher, who was a Green Beret, made CPA, helped me put together the 501c3 with another friend of mine that worked there, Master Sergeant Jeff McKinney, helped me put it together. Some neighbors like Joe Watley and Kirby Cadell and other people. And we created AHERO. And when we started that nonprofit, we had 104 acres. And that was the main farm that we hunted on. That's where I went to take my life. And as soon as I opened up that farm to start sharing the blessing that I feel God gave me, the farm next to me opened up and I had just enough money to purchase it. And then since we kept sharing our blessings and we kept reaching out, and nothing was about me anymore, it was about helping people and about sharing, everything started blessing us and blessing us and blessing us. And it went from me having a problem on that farm internally to sharing my problem and sharing my blessings and us spreading out across the country. And now we brought over 13,000 veterans and first responders in, stopped over 600 suicides that we know about. We've sent 60 people to treatment, but only a few relapses thanks to Warrior's Heart out in Texas and Virginia. And that was all because I started sharing my struggles and I started being transparent with the things I was going through instead of trying to have this facade that I was this invincible, tough Marine that could bear everything. And the reality is you can't.
Yeah.
And that's why we have a village. And that's why we need to have a strong village around us. And I can't control a lot of things in my life, but I can control who I'm around. And I can control the people that I put into my life and that I surround myself with to make sure that when I do go through those storms, I go through those valleys and those storms with the right people.
Right.
And so just, being with AHERO for 16 plus years now, being able to spend time with people like yourself and the caliber of people I always make sure that I'm around, I get 1% better every single day, physically, financially, emotionally, and most importantly, spiritually. When I say financially, I'm not here trying to make money or get money from you, but learning how to save, learning how to invest, learning how to be an investor and not a consumer. And so just getting smart in all four of those facets and getting better. And if you think about AHERO's 4 pillars, physical, financial, emotional, and spiritual, like a stool with 4 legs, what happens when one of those legs falls out of that stool?
Yeah.
What happens when 2 of them collapse? The stool's going to fall over. And so it's about being healthy and balanced and focused and taking an honest inventory on yourself every single day, every single week, but also me checking on you and you checking on me
Yeah.
and making sure that we're healthy together. And if you have a really good network of 4 or 5 people and you're constantly keeping tabs on each other, you'll know when you're good and when you're not. And I can say, hey, Mike, how's everything going? And we keep accountability partners.
Right.
So just watching that turn into now AHERO Records and watching a person who wasn't going to share a story and probably wasn't going to be open or transparent to me. Now they sit with you or Rusty or Jeff Sylvie and they start sharing that story. And this person that comes into the event with a 300-pound pack on their back leaves with no weight on their back.
Yeah.
And you can literally see the healing response through their face, through the way they carry themselves. And now they're proud of something that they came in and they were almost ashamed of stuff that they had gone through. And now they're proud of it. And that transition within just a couple days with what came in as perfect strangers are now family.
Yeah. Well, I think it helps, being out there at the farm, where it's just, it's quiet. You can be, you can silence the distractions, and you're there with folks that understand, And I remember the first time I went out there and we were out there at Red Cabin. We went out and saw Josh's cabin, got to see some of the beautiful, shoot houses that you guys have. And then to go back a couple of years later and then see the lodge that's there. And the lodge is its namesake is pretty significant. Tell us about that.
Yes, our lodge, when we came up with a name, Auburn's only Medal of Honor recipient is General Livingston. And General Livingston, don't fact check me on this or do. I'm pretty sure he's the most highly decorated living Marine today. And if he's not, he's pretty close. And he retired as a 2-star general. He's 86 years old, and he is as hard as woodpecker lips. You can fact check that. The guy is just so tough, and he still runs and very active. And absolutely the most humble human being I've ever met in my life. I'll tell you a quick story about General Livingston. I went to watch him get the Engineer Hall of Fame award from the state of Alabama. And he was inducted into the Engineer Hall of Fame. And these wealthy people spoke before him. It was 3 or 4 people that spoke before him. And they talked about how wonderful they were and how brilliant they were and how I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this. And I'm super intelligent and I'm brilliant and I'm wealthy. And then he got up there and he had all of the people there stand up. Thank you for doing this and thank you for doing this. Without the people I just discussed and mentioned, I would have never done anything in my life successfully because they're the only reasons I've had any success in my life. And that's him. That's who he is. And I thought about that. And as I think about my life too, and want to emulate people like General Livingston, I've never done anything in my life by myself successful. I've just failed miserably when I try to do stuff by myself. Every single success I've ever had in my life is because of the people around me and them loving and pouring into me. That's the only reason I've ever had any success. It's not me, it's them. And it's the people I surround myself with. And so having us name our lodge after somebody with that character, like General Livingston, was just a blessing to us. He still stays there with his wife, Sarah, when he visits Auburn. And Auburn University, President Roberts just did a great honor with the help of retired Major Jeff Dial. And they put up a display in the Student Activity Center dedicated to General Livingston. I was able to go see him receive that and speak there. And Auburn's really done such a fantastic job honoring this absolute war hero, just a great human.
Yeah.
So we're blessed to have that, have him come stay with us. Absolute history books, come stay with us. And I'm so humbled. And you know how much I talk. So when I'm able to be quiet for 2 or 3 hours because of the caliber of people that I consider celebrities that have literally laid their lives on the line for our country, that have been through that lodge and that farm, people who've literally died for our country, who were brought back, have stayed in that farm, have been in that lodge, and have enjoyed what I consider God's creation out there in Shorter, Alabama.
Yeah.
It's just so humbling to be the gatekeeper and to help people go heal through that.
For sure.
Oh, it's awesome.
For sure. And it's a great place to write.
Very good. Yeah, it's just awesome. And having the writer workshop, the singer-songwriter workshop a couple weeks ago, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It really was.
I think if people listen back through this podcast, they'll probably start connecting the dots, right? But they've heard about Jeff Sylvie. We've had Aaron Justice on, is an Army veteran, contemporary Christian artist, and we were down doing a Fishing for a Hero event down in Pensacola. It was the second one that I had been to. And we got to sit down with Jeff, and we got to sit down with, an incredible Marine warrior. And she retired from the Marine Corps and just had been through it. We got to sit down with her and learn her story and write her story. And then that became the song Strength of a Survivor, which is getting ready to come out through Aaron. And he actually performed it on the podcast earlier. But so the writing kind of happens at multiple events. It's not necessarily just in Alabama. This one happened to be in Pensacola. I think we've written in Orange Beach, Alabama. There was a Kickback Ranch. Is that the name of it? That was the first event I went to. And just, didn't have much of an idea of what it was, but, to be able to go to that, see what's happening, get an understanding of it, and then to walk away, drive away a couple hours, back to, I think I was in New Orleans at that point, and just reflect back on what took place. It's like, yeah, this is pretty special.
Well, and the one thing, going to a lot of nonprofit events, being involved with nonprofits after I was wounded and received a Purple Heart and got invited to different things. The biggest part that I've seen as far as clarity from an event is the no alcohol during the event. And it really allowed people to open up, control their emotions, honor the donor dollars, and make sure that no one leaves there with a lack of clarity. The clarity throughout the event was really good. And so my encouraging part of this is if you can have 2 or 3 days without alcohol being present at a nonprofit event, and donors are paying for us to come together to help veterans and first responders heal, not having something cloud their judgment to maximize that 2 or 3 day period while we're there has been key for us from a healing perspective. I was on the phone with a guy on the way up here, and he runs another nonprofit, and I asked him, he said, "No, we let them drink." And I mentioned to him, I get it, but if you're maximizing 2 to 3 days with these veterans and first responders, you don't know what medicine they're taking. You don't know, like me, I'm an alcoholic. And so if I go to a veterans event and you don't know I'm an alcoholic and you offer me alcohol and I'm on medication, and that's when I fall off the wagon because I came to your event and I felt compelled to drink because my wife is back home and she doesn't know I'm drinking, that could just be a catapult of just bad things. And so we removed it about 8 years ago. I don't have to wonder what kind of medication they're on. I don't have to wonder if they're an alcoholic or not. But more importantly, I maximize that 2 or 3 day period, and they have clarity to remember the connections they had from that event. They're not, waking up with a hangover. They remember the resources we connect them with, and they leave with a connection that they might not have had if they had any alcohol in them. And the last thing I'll tell you about that is if they are an alcoholic, by the second or third day, a lot of times they'll pull me aside and say, "Hey, I don't feel good. I need help." And we've sent veterans and first responders from our event by Sunday to treatment because they identified that they had been drinking for 15 or 20 straight years. And this was their first 2 or 3 days sober. And they needed help, which was great because we knew a place to send them, which is Warrior's Heart. So that has been the single best thing besides my faith, which I'm grounded in my faith, which is number one. When I hit my knees and surrender my life absolutely changed thanks to my wife, Tamar, who's amazing. And then no alcohol. My life is completely different. It's a 180.
Yeah. So last time I was down at the farm, which was just a couple weeks ago, there was it was a songwriting retreat. I got to meet Casey Fall, and she is a retired Coast Guard search and rescue pilot. She was just on our episode, our last episode, and just listening to her story, and then hearing her sing, it was really special, And then she came up here. She came up to Nashville, and then on the way back to the farm, she stopped by here, and we did a podcast, we did some recording, and just what a talent, but to be able to go to that event and meet her and, realize how special she is, not only her service through the Coast Guard, but her songwriting and her voice, you can tell that music is a huge part of her healing and her recovery. Traumatic brain injury, went through a very tough time, wound up not being able to fly anymore, which she absolutely loved to do. And just to see how positive she is and to see what she is doing with music and with song to not only better her life, but also, the lives of others. It was just a great opportunity to meet her and get to know her and hear her music.
Yeah, Casey is awesome. And what a beautiful voice. What a great songwriter and just such a genuine human being. I mean, when you meet her, it's like you've known her for 30 years.
Yeah.
And she's just so grateful to be around everybody. And the one thing I had to get on to her about is downplaying how talented she is. And you can still be humble, but she just doesn't realize how talented she is. And she's so gifted in all the things. And just being able to introduce her to you and Jeff and Dana Black and Tony Justice, she knows him now and spent time with Tony, and get to meet Aaron soon. Ideally when we have our event, April 30th. she'll sit there and write songs with y'all. And it's just absolutely her retention, like you talked about when we got here, her retention is amazing. I mean, she'll write a song and then within a day she's playing it.
Right.
She's picking up a good rhythm on it.
Yeah.
And she's almost perfected it. And so watching her grow, and when I first met her, and I'll back up to how I met her. I went to Warriors Path thanks to Boulder Crest. They had me over there, which is a fantastic program. I recommend any veterans or first responders looking up Boulder Crest and get involved with Warrior Path, which is where I came up with Struggle Well. I didn't come up with that. I heard it at Boulder Crest. They said you're going to struggle. So when you do struggle, struggle well. Like get through it, get a good team around you and struggle well. And so while I was there, I met a guy named Tommy, and phenomenal human being, Army Ranger, good guy. And he said, hey, I heard you have a record label and a program through AHERO Records. I've got somebody you got to meet. She's phenomenal. And that's how I met her, thanks to Warriors Path. And what a great, great group, what a great organization. Was able to meet Casey. And we started working from there. I called you immediately. I called Dave when I got out of there. I said, I got somebody. Let's see what happens. And now within the first day or two, she drove her RV and tripped her dog from Washington State all the way over to Alabama. And she's in the yard. But she immediately just clicked in with the family. And her initial homework was one song a week. And when I first met her, she was like, there's no way. I'm like, one song a week. And now I think she's writing like 2 a day.
Mm-hmm.
So she went from 1 a week, and she kind of looked at me like, your homework was a little easier than I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But when you're writing with Dana Black and you and Jeff and Rusty, it's pretty easy to put all that together pretty quick. I mean, the talent is just everywhere.
Now, we mentioned Jeff a few times, and we're talking about Jeff Sylvie. He's been nominated for inspirational country music or inspirational contemporary country producer of the year and won it multiple times. He's up for it again. He's been writing with George Strait's publishing company for, I think, almost 20 years. He's got 3 cuts with George. Dana, I think she wrote Check Yes or No. That's a big song.
She wrote two top. His top 2 was there's one other one that she wrote. I can't remember it, but Check Yes or No, and then one more.
Yeah.
And then Jeff just wrote 3 Drinks Behind on George's new album.
Yeah.
And so,
which has been nominated for a Grammy. And so, I mean, you talk about surrounding yourself with talented folks. I mean, that's cream of the crop right there. There's some amazing songwriters. And then to be able to sit down with veterans and have them share their gift and help people tell their story through song. It's a pretty incredible experience.
And that's really what this is all about.
Yeah.
Giving them a platform, some hope, the creative experience, and then the networking, and watching Casey, on the phone coming from Washington State and taking that leap of faith. And now she's texting with Dana Black, writing music, and they're friends.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell on her a little bit. And Dana, if you're watching this, I convinced her to stay. She did not want to impose, and she did not want to inconvenience anybody. She said, Lee, I'm just going to drive my RV, and that way I don't have to bother anyone. I said, no, you're not. You're going to come, you're going to leave your RV. I have your dog Trip. I'm going to watch Trip the dog. You have an opportunity to stay in an Airbnb with Jeff Sylvie, with Dana Black, to work with William Michael Morgan. You need to spend late nights drinking coffee, early mornings drinking coffee, and really get to know these people and create a relationship and really spend a lot of time with them and not go back to an RV or worry about Trip. So I'll take Trip out. I got Trip. And she went through that. She was like, hey, I think I'm going to come back. I was like, no, you're going to stay. You're going to stay. And then transition to when she came to stay with you on the way home, she goes, hey, I'm just going to stop in and just visit Mike. I was like, no, you need to stay with Mike until Mike and John kick you out. So you have an opportunity. You're there. You're all the way from Washington State. You're in Nashville and now in Shelbyville. When he makes you leave, you need to leave. And she called me every day because she's just such a good human. She didn't want to impose on him.
Yeah.
But the amount, I mean, she got like 5 years of writing experience and mentorship within like 7 days.
Yeah.
And it was just so awesome to watch her trust me that I'm going to guide her, but really have the team like y'all to just really embrace her, because you didn't have to. You didn't have to entertain her at your house in your studio, and they didn't have to let her stay in the Airbnb with them, but they embraced her with open arms.
Well, she came down, she did the podcast. That was on a Friday evening. We packed up the guitars. We headed down the street to Craig Campbell, country music star. He has a venue in Eagleville, and it's called Grindstone Cowboy. He also has one that's just open in Shelbyville. It's absolutely beautiful. And they do open mics there, and Craig was there that night, as he usually is for those. And she got up there and just leveled the place, you know? She got up there and just sang beautifully, and the whole place just immediately fell in love with her, and it was just a magical moment. And then we got back, and we got up early the next morning, which was Saturday, and we probably were in the studio for about 12 hours. And then we knew that there was a couple more things we wanted to kind of wrap up on Sunday morning, so we did that, and then on her way back to the farm, she went, and we just had a great time, just playing music, talking, doing a little bit of writing, some pre-production work, and I'm really excited for people to hear her. And there's so much talent out there within the military and the veteran community, and that was the whole catalyst behind doing this VetTunes podcast, is just share the stories of some amazing folks that are out there. And, we have been very fortunate to take on Reese Across America Radio. They partnered with us, and they're hosting our podcast now. So we're getting the word out about some really talented individuals. So it's exciting to have Casey be a part of that, and Aaron being part of that, and just so many great artists that are out there. And if I know that there's plenty more out there, I find them on social media all the time, and I make contact with them, and then we wound up setting up an appointment to either for them, if they're in the Nashville area, they'll swing by, and then we'll do a performance, and then if they're out of town or somewhere we can't get to, then we'll just do a virtual. But I think it's really fun to share stories of folks who, were part of something bigger than themselves, who took time out of their lives to serve their country, but are also incredible artists. And I think that that's the story that needs to be shared.
I agree. And watching them spend time with people who are going through the absolute worst thing in their life, and letting that trauma control them, and then over a 2 or 3 day weekend, they can heal through that same trauma and leave a completely different person by Sunday. And watching that with one of our veterans at our last event, and write a song with y'all, and watching him share and heal and cry. And I think everybody cried at that event, and he came out so much better for it, because he was willing to be transparent and share.
Yeah.
And one of the things I told him specifically, he would call me, and he would be drinking at 2 or 3 in the morning, and he would call me crying, and we'd have to sanitize the house, and his wife would have to hide weapons and hide knives and stuff, because he was going to kill himself, and he was going to commit suicide, as he's telling me, intoxicated, that he wanted to take his life because he was mourning the loss of a friend in Afghanistan. I asked him on the phone, how are you honoring him with how you're living? This person that's keeping you up at night, that's making you drink, and that's really controlling everything and destroying your life because you're worried about this person who died 15 years ago or whenever that time might have happened. How are you honoring his sacrifice? He would do anything in the world to have one sober moment with his wife, to kiss his wife one more time, to hug his kid one more time. He would do anything, but he didn't have that option. He sacrificed his life for this nation. How are you honoring him with how you're living right now? And that's all we can do. We can't control the stuff that happened in combat or whatever traumatic thing happened, but we can honor that person with how we live our lives every single day, living 1% better every single day. That's what we can control. And so just encouraging anybody who's watching this, we all struggle. We're all going through stuff. Even if you weren't in the military, you got stuff, you got people you lost. How are you honoring that sacrifice or that loss with how you're living your life? Are you, if they're looking down right now, would they be proud of how you're living? You know, if they're watching, which they are you living as healthy as you can physically? Financially, are you being smart with how you're spending? Are you helping people? Are you volunteering? When you say I serve my military or I support my military, how? Are you actually going out and volunteering? Are you emotionally okay and can you get better? And spiritually, are you waking up every day and are you grounded in some faith that's bigger than yourself? And that's the biggest thing is every day, starting your day quiet in thought, journaling, reflection time. If you're Christian, having devotion, not waiting until Sunday for 1 hour to repent for 6 days of sin. You know, on every morning, are you spending time in devotion, trying to get better and grounding yourself and putting spiritual armor on before you face the world? You will face something every single day.
Yeah.
You will face something every day. And as soon as you touch your cell phone, there's going to be an email, a text message, a Facebook message. Something's going to piss you off. The news, whatever it is, don't touch it. And when we have events, I tell everyone, start your day whispering with God, whispering with your creator in reflection, journaling time if you're not Christian, but start your day in quiet for an hour at least before you enable and give the world access to you through your cell phone, through your social media.
Yeah.
And prepare for what will happen so you're on your toes and not on your heels, because it never fails. Every time I don't do that and I don't listen to my own advice, something happens. It gets me off my day. I'm mad all day. I'm off. And I could have prevented it by waking up on time and preparing for the world.
Yeah.
So honor those people and control the one thing that you can control, which is being around good people. Taking your day right now and taking an inventory. And I do this on a weekly basis in the least. Usually I do it on a daily basis. But I'll go through and go, who do I never need to get around or talk to again? Where do I never need to go again? Who do I need to get around more? Where do I need to go more? Just that quick inventory. That took like 10 seconds. If somebody messages you and it's always crazy and they're consumers and they're parasites, who do I never need to talk to again? Because it's always an anchor pulling me backwards in all of those things. And where do I never need to go? If you look at most people that are struggling with something, it's the people they're around and the places they're going. And those two things combined is where you are. And so you have control of those two things. So I'm telling you, since I did that and started really checking my friend group, what do they say? Show me your 5 friends and I'll show you who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's true. Are you a person that gets around people that are going to help you grow? Or are you around people that are going to bring you back and hold you down? I mean, I still want to help people that are struggling, but when I have my personal time and it's my time to charge my batteries and get around, I'm around people that are going to help me grow in every facet to be the healthiest version of myself. Because this life is short and it's every day you're losing a day. And honestly, the way we lived in the Marine Corps, I know you lived probably the similar ways. I took a lot of years off the front end of my life. So I'll be 46 April 1st. I'm trying to get years back now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to heal up because I'll tell you at 46, I feel like I'm 86.
Right.
So now I'm trying to get some years back and I'm trying to at least remember the last half. You know, the first half is pretty blurry.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to live healthier and I get to a certain point, you know, let's say I make it to 50 or 60 or 70 and I want to be healthy enough to enjoy my grandkids. And I don't want to get to a point to where I'm saying, man, I just want a few more days of my grandkids but the things I'm doing right now are shaving time off. So how do I start working to get it back and live healthier and take care of myself better, eat cleaner?
Mm.
You know, instead of going to sit on the couch for 2 hours and watch Netflix, go move and do something, go hiking. But now I'm earning those years on the back end and trying to get them back
Yeah.
because I definitely shaved them off on the front end.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of us did.
Oh yeah.
Your legacy path. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So we all have good and bad leaders in our life. And I've been blessed with some awesome leaders, and I've been blessed with some awesome people in my life. And I've also worked at a place that was really bad. And so I worked at a place that really had toxic leadership and was not the best environment and was really the top people that worked there were all pretty toxic. Not pretty, they were toxic people. And that time there really got me to look at how can I teach servant leadership and go to corporate America outside of AHERO? How can I help corporate America do keynote speaking engagements through Legacy and the Legacy programs? And so I started doing keynote speaking engagements for a natural gas company, Williams, and start doing other keynote speeches, but more importantly, leadership and legacy retreats to where I can help them just focus on taking care of your employees. And I watched these people that were solely focused on money and making money and using their employees and just getting every mosquito leadership is what I call it, taking every last bit of blood out of a person before you get rid of them and flick them. Their turnover rate was atrocious. I mean, they had so many people just leave because it was just a toxic place. So how do you change that? And how do you take corporate America or companies and say, hey, I can teach you through 22 plus years of the Marine Corps, along with all of the friends that I have that served as well. We can put a package together for you and for your company and teach you how to be a servant leader. And you can maximize your profit by taking care of your people and just truly having your employees love what they're doing because they know you love them and care about them. And how do we look at the structure, how you're doing things, make sure you have a structure. Most importantly, have a plan. This place had no planning. They just showed up to work. They were in reaction mode instead of being proactive. Every day was just, it was absolutely chaos. And so how do we change that? And it's just structures. It's what we learned in the military. Proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
Mm-hmm.
And so having planning, having leaders that are leaders, not managers or bosses, and having people that truly care about you. And it's even if you only care about money, just fake loving your people. You know what I mean? Maybe eventually you'll fake it till you make it. But just the absolute absence of leadership showed me that it's a need. It's a need in our country. And it's not that hard to take a second and just love your people. As a company commander, I had 300 Marines. I never missed an opportunity to tell them, I know I work for you. There's 300 of you. You don't work for me. I'm blessed to be able to take care of you and your families. I don't know I think I had like 20 something different jobs. There's no way I could ever go to school long enough to figure out what their jobs did.
Mm-hmm.
That was not my role as a leader. My role as a leader is to truly love them, to take care of them. And they would do all of those jobs to the best of their ability because they knew I truly cared about them. If I was just a tyrant and I was a toxic leader, they would do just enough to keep me off of them. Instead of 80 or 90% effort, they'd give me like 30 or 40 just to keep me off their backs. So if you love them, they're going to give you 80 to 90 or 100% as much as they can because they know you love them and you're going to take care of them. So I never had to figure out what all their jobs were. I wanted to know what was going to get me fired and what was going to get me thrown in jail. Like, what are the nuances of your job that are going to get me in trouble? What do I need to know? But besides that, I just want to take care of them. And really, that's any business. If you're the CEO of a company, you don't need to know all of the details of every single person's day. You just need to give them a plan, a standard operating procedure, and a structure to execute, and then let them know that you have their back. I heard a 1 minute manager is a podcast I was listening to. It was actually a book. And the guy said something that was the opposite of what this place does. Look for your employees and try to catch your employees doing something right. Instead of what this place was doing, they're always trying to see them doing, catching them doing something wrong, taking credit for success and attacking people for weaknesses. Try to catch your employees doing something right and praising them. Reprimand in private, praise in public.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the opposite
Yeah.
of this place. And so just really getting back to brilliance in the basics and just being a good leader, just taking care of people and loving them.
Yeah.
And you're gonna make mistakes. Your team's gonna make mistakes. If you hammer them every time they make mistakes, or when they bring you a problem, you hammer them, they're probably not going to tell you about a lot of stuff that's happening.
Right.
But if they bring you a mistake or an issue and you help them solve it and you help them get through it and you train them, then they're going to come to you. And you're not going to hear about this stuff from another person. You're going to be able to deal with these things. So taking that and then bringing in the veterans and first responders to build a team to help me run these courses, as well as the Hometown Hero services that we started with Keith Body in Auburn, who's a friend of mine I deployed to the invasion of Iraq with. We're giving veterans and first responders a purpose, and we're pouring back into the community by helping with pressure washing, by doing dryer vent cleaning, anything you can need to include landscaping. And we're working with the Auburn NROTC program to teach them servant leadership. And before they become officers, we're working with them. We're paying them really well while they're in college. And we're mentoring them about what we expect out of a young officer.
Yeah.
Bringing in ROTC from Auburn out to AHERO at the same time to spend time with Sergeant Major Parker, who's got 5 Purple Hearts from Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
to be around General Livingston and to tell them, hey, just do not take this commission if it's just about promotion in yourself.
Yeah.
If you want that, let me get you a job somewhere else in corporate America. But do not do this if you're not a servant leader. And to spend time with Nolan Brennan. I by name him all the time because he lives on the farm. But he is the current battalion commander for the Auburn NROTC program. And he lives at AHERO Farm. So he's a senior and he watches all the mentorship happening. He helps us run the farm. And we took a guy from Maryland, and he shot his first Alabama deer, his hogs, everything. And his last part of college has been just an awesome thing to watch. And we get to commission him on May 3rd to be a United States Marine.
That's great.
So watching the legacy program and really helping teach servant leadership and really all my failures. I failed miserably in a lot of ways in leadership. And I learned from them. I had buddies pull me aside and say, man, you're terrible. And I would fix it. I'd be like, man, you're right. I am terrible. And I made the adjustments because somebody was nice enough to tell me, hey, man, you're bad right now. And I was like, well, I don't want to be bad. And I was willing to shift. And then having those bad leaders we had, and I would look at it like, man, I never want to be like that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember even with this last job I had, how he made me feel and how they made me feel, the owner and the CEO. I held it deep down inside because I never want to make an employee feel like that. And I want to remember what that felt like so that never comes out of me. And I will never allow any of my employees to treat other employees like that. That's what I consider a fireable offense.
Yeah.
Is treating someone like I was treated. And so it was a great opportunity for me to feel that and be reminded of what that felt like. Is it gaslighting? I really didn't know what it was until I went through it pretty bad. But teaching that for my employees, for the corporate America piece, for legacy, and then for the soon-to-be officers, I think it's important because I don't want to replicate that for anybody.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone to have to go through that kind of stuff. We want to create a good culture and have it spread. And when they see people like that, they can make corrections as well.
Yeah.
So just a healthy culture.
I think, during our time in the Marine Corps, we've probably run across our fair share of toxic work environments, and there's lessons to be learned from that. And I'm glad that you're out there, educating folks on how to do it the right way, how to lead from the front, how to lead by example. and how to just go out there and, have some enthusiasm, have a little bit of pride in what you do and, show up, have a work ethic, all that kind of stuff. So, well, you have a super strong team over there at AHERO. I've been honored to be a part of it and watch it continue to grow, all the great things you're doing. Thank you so much for being here on the VetTunes podcast, telling us about your music programs. We want to thank Wreaths Across America Radio for helping us get the word out about amazing people like you. And if you want to learn more about veteran artists and musicians and different programs that help them, check out the VetTunes podcast at vettunespodcast.com, and we will see you all next time. Cheers.